Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The social media is being bombarded by ZANU-PF operatives issuing statements regarding Amendment number 3. The regime's propaganda machine is on overdrive. They really want the nation to focus on Amendment number 3. Everything else must be forgotten. I would like to remind the nation that Zimbabwe is a failed state, and it is not because of the constitutional amendment number 3. Zimbabwe is a failed state because the country is a de facto one-party state dictatorship. And we've been a de facto one-party state dictatorship for the last 46 years and counting. In other words, the problem is not this constitutional amendment number 3. The problem is already there. It is the ZANU-PF dictatorship. In 2017, the people were so focused on removing Mugabe, they ignored the reality that removing Mugabe without ending the dictatorship would change nothing. And that is exactly what happened. Yes, Mugabe must go. People celebrated. Some people even called it Independence Day. But hardly a few months down the line, the penny finally dropped. That the nation had accomplished nothing because the ZANU-PF dictatorship went on to win the 2018 elections and impose Mnangagwa as the dictator. He went on to win the 2023 elections, and he is the one who is creating this amendment. If we didn't have Mnangagwa, we would not be worrying about this amendment. So my message to you today is, we are after the crocodile. This amendment number 3 is at best Kapenda. If we catch Kapenda but fail to kill the crocodile, the nation will still be in serious trouble. We will still have the dictatorship. Ben, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, and good day to our viewers. You know, it's pretty disheartening that, 46 years, Zimbabwe has never had a constitutional handover and changeover of power. We know that Mugabe, like you have stated, went through a military coup. If we hadn't done that, we would, still probably be having Mugabe, up to this day. And here we have now ZANU-PF forgetting that and now want to open, Pandora's box and start extending term limits and so forth. My question is, what's to stop the next guy after Mnangagwa, for saying, 7 years is too little. Let's go for double that, or let's go for triple that. Or why don't you just have one lifetime cycle? That kind of thing. We are in serious trouble. And our trouble is beyond this whole constitutional amendment. And our trouble started in 1980 when Mugabe, ZANU-PF said that if we do not win the election, the Bush War would continue. That statement meant that there would be no free, fair, and credible elections. It had to be them. And up to today, it has to be them. So forget about this nonsense to say, you have your right to one man, one vote, and it's just a farce. What is really happening is that ZANU-PF has made it sure that they must win an election no matter what. And I can take you back to 2008 when ZANU-PF had lost an election. What followed through there was killings and beatings of people. And then the question is, where is that one man, one vote? Where is that freedom of choosing leadership when you really don't have that choice? If you make another choice except ZANU-PF, you are battered. Gukura Wundi. It says everything about ZANU-PF, the mentality, the thuggery, and the abuse on Zimbabweans. And yet a lot of Zimbabweans out there still do not understand the source of our problem. We are just kicking the can, down the road. We can try and figure out how to stop this amendment. Even if we do stop it, 2028 will definitely be ZANU-PF or else nothing.
I'd like to remind the people of Zimbabwe that amendment number 3 will stop, if it's stopped, it will stop Mnangagwa extending his stay in office beyond 2028. That is an achievement. I totally agree. But it will do nothing, and I emphasize, it will do nothing to dismantle this ZANU-PF vote rigging machinery. That is the argument. And as many of you are aware, at the present moment, there are two factions in ZANU-PF. The faction that is backing VP Chiwenga, who were responsible for the 2017 military coup. And there's still a lot of people in the army who back him. So stopping amendment number 3 will open the door probably for Chiwenga to get in. He'll become the ZANU-PF candidate. I would like to remind you what Sanyatwe said when he was in the army. What actually happened as regards the 2018 elections, which I said ZANU-PF rigged in the 2023 elections, which again, many will agree ZANU-PF rigged.
Saka ZANU-PF ichatonga kusvika madhonge ameranya. Muchida musingadi. Apa ndakutaura sakomanda ami. Shashandisa inonzi command voting. Yes. Nyaya yemasabhuku waridzi wemusangano chazvigadzira. Tinozona? Amen. ZANU-PF. Pamberi naID Mnangagwa. Pasi nemhandu. Security forces saka PC mkuru wemaudondini.
That is the bottom line. Amendment number 3, stopping it, will not change the ZANU-PF mentality. These ZANU-PF thugs, while they may be fighting among themselves over who should be the top dog, they are united in the understanding that ZANU-PF must rule the country forever. Stopping amendment number 3 does not in any way dismantle the ZANU-PF vote rigging juggernaut. The institutions like ZEC, the police, the army, the judiciary, who are already in ZANU-PF's deep pockets, will remain in ZANU-PF's deep pockets, including, I must add, the opposition itself. So, I re-emphasize the point. Let's not waste time thinking that stopping amendment number 3 will end the ZANU-PF dictatorship. It will not.
You know, one has to appreciate the power of the internet. It brings news and happenings to many millions of people. I mean, we just after the election, and there was the SADC observer mission, and they released their report. A lot of people got that message, and a lot of people were happy with the message. But what I find very disturbing is that after we got the message, we didn't do anything about it. We saw opposition MPs straight away get sworn in. It was life as usual. Yes, they will tell you, no, the election were rigged, but they will say it whilst they're in their offices and in their positions. This shows that the people of Zimbabwe, we cannot say they are ignorant, because they know what is happening. But we can say that they choose to ignore the warnings. They choose to ignore the advice. And SADC and many observer missions came out and told us the problem. And they still go on to tell us the problem. Even recently, South Africa has come out and spoken about our rigged elections, the way we conduct our elections. And SADC even mentioned that the way we conduct our elections is a violation to the constitution that we are saying we are defending. To me, we are turning into people that are refusing treatment. We are turning into people that we think we know, but we really do not know. We do not want to do any correction. We are saying we don't want 2030 because it is a violation of our constitution. But we are fine to violate the constitution by rigging and participating in rigged elections. That is what it says. Because as far as we know, the recommendations or the corrections that we were supposed to have made from the past elections, we have not done. So most likely, in that exam, we are going to do the same thing. We are going to experience the same election process, the same flawed election process, and the same dealings that ZANU-PF has always been doing. So my question is, okay, we have defended the 2030 constitutional violation or whatever it is. What about the 2028? Aren't we going to be just in the same position as we are today? Because look at it this way. This is ZANU-PF. They have never had a proper change of power themselves. And whoever is going to come as the next after ED will probably be doing the same thing. He will try and extend his term. That is the ZANU-PF way. So we have not solved anything. We have simply kicked the can down the road. And we have to kick it again and again and again. We have a problem. A very, very big problem. And as long as we keep ignoring the primary cause, which is our failure to hold free, fair, and credible elections from day one, Zimbabwe will know no peace. Zimbabwe will continue to be a failed state. Our problem is not the amendment. Our problem is rigged election. This is what brings about all the other problems.
I'd like to end by reminding people of the enthusiasm of the opposition, the MDC CCC leaders. They vowed to stand and fight to stop amendment number 3. As much as that is to be applauded, what people must also understand is that this is the same opposition that has done nothing to implement the democratic reforms and are saying nothing about implementing democratic reforms before the next elections, and therefore then are almost certain to participate in the next elections without any reforms. In short, they are using their fight for amendment to stop amendment number 3 to win public support. Here is Tendai Biti posturing on that issue.
That is to say, 2/3 in the National Assembly and 2/3 in the Senate. It must then go to a referendum, because it is a bill altering term limits in the country. The referendum is a simple process, Baba. The referendum simply asks whether you are saying yes or no. Because we are going to campaign and live in the mountains to get that no vote.
So this is an opposition that is now going to live in the mountains to stop amendment number 3. And yet, for the last 26 years, including the 5 years in the GNU when they had the best opportunity to implement the reforms, the democratic reforms, they failed to implement even one. That is the opposition we are dealing with here. I emphasize again, we are not interested in how many kapenda fish we catch. Yes, this amendment is important, and ZANU-PF is drumming it up to make sure that we don't take our eyes off it. But trust me, catching the kapenda fish, even if we say it's the tiger fish, it's not going to solve our problem. Our problem is the crocodile. It's the dictatorship itself. If we catch the tiger fish, stop the amendment number 3, but fail to stop ZANU-PF rigging the next elections, they will impose another dictator. As for whether it's the new dictator will be better or worse than Mnangagwa, it's academic. Just as to say Mnangagwa is worse than Mugabe, that is academic. We all know that the dictatorship was never going to bring about any meaningful change. This is why we must be very clear what we want. We want to end the dictatorship. Stopping the amendment, but failing to stop the ZANU-PF rigging the next election will be a failure. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.